Hey everyone, this is Dr. Keisha Hodge, and I'm just gonna get right into it. I'm gonna get right into it. So I quit my job. I quit my job a few days ago. Um, I took this job not because it was my dream job, not because it's something that has upward mobility. I took this job to be a blessing to my church, a blessing to the ministry, and I have been a blessing to the ministry, and it's blessed me as well monetarily. However, most of my career has been spent working in jobs where I'm in leadership and I'm in management. And this was the first time in a long time that I worked in a position where I was not in management. That was a whole learning experience. That was a whole thing. But I said, okay, I'll push through it. It was a remote job, call center environment. And I was like, okay, I'll push through it. All the different quirks and issues and situations that were coming up, the micromanagement that was off the charts at times, I'll push through it. But so they decided in October to give us a pay increase. So in October, we received a pay increase of $18,000. Everybody was overjoyed. The head guy was like, "You're not being paid what you're worth, so we're going to pay you more." All of this, unbeknownst to the employees, most of the employees, was that it was a Department of Labor mandate that the minimum wage for salary workers be increased. So, anyway, the increased salary made the job that was not so enjoyable easier. It made it tolerable, as one of my coworkers said. And so we were working. So we came into this meeting. We came into this meeting maybe week and a half ago, and we were told we're cutting your salary not back to what it used to be, but we're cutting your salary by $23,000. Now, let's keep in mind that the raise was only $18,000. They said we're cutting everybody's salary in this department by $23,000. So you're going to get paid less than what you were getting paid when you started working here. And so I'm like, what? And the way that it was said, it was so matter of fact. It was so matter of fact. He was just like, it was like a line item. We're cutting your salary by $23,000. And then next in my PowerPoint slide. Next in my PowerPoint presentation. Okay. And so we're like, what? Somebody sent me a message and team like, were you in that meeting? And then the kicker was they didn't allow for any questions. His reasoning was, "Oh, I have other meetings back to back." No, because when you presented the race, you had other meetings back to back, but you allowed time for everybody to say, "Oh, you're great. Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you for doing this and all of that." So no questions, no comments. You had to speak to your own individual manager. You couldn't speak there in an open forum. So there was no strength in numbers, and you just basically had to take it. Basically had to take it. And you were told about a week, a little more than a week from the time that it was to go into effect. And you just had to deal with it, right? So we're all in shock. Like, what just happened? $23,000 pay cut means your whole livelihood changed. That's a lifestyle change. That's a lifestyle change. And so I'm like, okay, this isn't good. This doesn't make it worth it. I was already working beneath what I should have been paid in the beginning, but I said I can work from home. I can still homeschool my children, things like I can work in my pajamas, things like that. And I'm like, okay, I'll just roll with it. But when you said 23,000, so you're going to give us minimum pay, but you want maximum work. Minimum pay, but you want maximum effort. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And so I had a conversation with my husband. My husband's like, you need to just leave. You go ahead and resign. It's not worth it anymore. We can work on our own business, but this is not worth it. And I'm gonna tell you, it's so very important to know your worth, but it's also very important to have someone in your life. If you're going to marry someone that's going to value you. Marry someone that even when you feel, and I think that's my husband right there. Even when you feel, hi honey, even when you feel maybe low and your self-esteem is low, they're going to value you and they're going to say, you're worth more than this. You're worth more than this. And so I resigned from the job, and unbeknownst to me, I received a call the next morning from my manager. And she was like, "You resigned?" Like, she was really shocked. And I was shocked. I was actually shocked that she was shocked, because another coworker of mine resigned that Friday. Another one resigned like the day of the pay cut, of the notification of the pay cut. How are you shocked that we're not just going to sit here and say, "Yeah, sure, pay me $23,000 less for the same work. Pay me $23,000 less for the same effort"? How are you shocked by that? I don't understand. And so I just, I talked it over with her and I explained it to her, and she was trying to explain to me how the new bonus pay structure was and all of that. And I was just like, "But you're telling me that I have to do $23,000 in premium, because we were in life insurance sales, just to break even, just to get back to what I was being paid for walking in the door. That's what you're telling me." And so I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And you're also telling me, since the pay cut is less than what I was making when I started day one, you're telling me that now, a year later, with more experience, with all the sales I've made and all of that, I am worth less to you than I was day one, when I walked in the door, hadn't sold anything, hadn't produced anything. This is what you're telling me. And so, I just told her, she said she enjoyed working with me. I said, "I enjoy working with you too." We ended the call on a positive note. And then yesterday, I received a an email for an exit survey, right? Basically an exit interview. And I said, "You know what? I am going to take the time to do this exit interview, because there are some things that I want to express, and there are some things that, if they actually listen to me, read my comments, take it as constructive criticism, there are some things that the company can benefit from." So I said, "Okay." I'm going to spend some time on this. And being a person who has been in management, by no means a perfect manager, by no means a perfect person, but I know what good management looks like. I know what good management look like. Number one, you are never going to keep key people, high quality people, by micromanaging. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Who did you hire? You're hiring a grown person. You're hiring a person that you said, "I believe that this person is going to do great and make money for this company." You're hiring a person that you're saying is qualified for this job. Why the need for micromanagement? Why the instant distrust? Okay? The micromanaging does not work. Does not work. Okay. And then you have to walk in integrity, and your employees need to know that you value them as a human being, that you value them as a person. Okay. One of the things, I used to be a branch manager in another life, and one of the things, or years ago, should I say, and one of the things that I found to be so very important was that my employees knew that I cared about them beyond how many checking accounts they can sell, beyond how many loans they can close, beyond how many savings accounts they can open up. They needed to know that I value them. And so when my employee called me at 3 o'clock in the morning and her mom just passed, I prayed with her. When I found my other employee in the bathroom because she was diagnosed diagnosed with cervical cancer. She was in there crying. I took the time and talked with her and prayed with her. Okay. When they needed to speak with me, I stopped what I was doing. And if I didn't have time to stop at that point, I remembered them and said, hey, come on in. You wanted to talk. But they need to know that they're valued. And in this experience, with me not being the manager and having being managed, the only time that my manager would ask for me to give her a call, this was a remote role, was when I did something wrong. Was then when there was something that she wanted to talk to me about and wanted me to do better on. It was never, let's talk. What do you need? What support do you need? Let's just share best practices. So at my very last conversation with her while I was an employee there was when she was getting into, and they always start with, how are you doing? How's the family? Blah, blah, blah. But you're about to lower the boom. So how can I feel comfortable with that? So I'll continue to talk about management practices, but it was a $23,000 pay cut. And at some point, you got to be like, this is not worth it, because the time that that I'm here, chained to this desk, chained to this dollar, chained to this phone, I could be somewhere else working on my dream business, the vision that the Lord has given me, working on or apply for other jobs. But being chained here is no longer worth it, right? You have to count up the cost. That's what the Bible tells us, to count up the cost. And that's what you have to do, because we are not in an environment. Don't let anybody scare you just because of who's in office or whatever, that you got to be desperate, right? That no, you don't have to be desperate. And we know that with God, absolutely nothing is impossible. So I just wanted to share that with you all. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. If there's some other topics you want me to approach, I've been in management, I've been an executive, I've been a homeschool mom for several years. I have a doctorate in pastoral counseling. Just let me know and we can dig into it. I love you all so much. And until next time, I'll see you soon.